Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, 320 Sim Pilot, and today we are taking a look at the Black Square TBM 850 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is a brand new aircraft about to be or imminently going to be released for Microsoft Flight Simulator, published by Just Flight. It's a highly detailed representation of the TBM 850. Black Square are known for having done some great instrumentation overhauls for default Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft, but now they have created their own version of the TBM 850, so a full model here. This is a really interesting aeroplane. We obviously all know and love it from its various appearances on YouTube on Steve-O's channel, which is where a lot of us would have seen it, or a lot of interesting things about it and seen its versatility. It's designed to take into sort of a compromise position between a really expensive private luxury travel, but also being a bit more economical, a bit more affordable, and a bit more, perhaps you could say, sensible, depending on your budget. I did look up buying one of these online, and yeah, it's a couple of million for one that's about 10 years old. So they're not sitting in the normal general aviation area. So a rather fancy machine nonetheless. As you can see, it's a single-engine turboprop aircraft. It is pressurized, it is fast, it goes high. You're going to get up into the high 20,000s, which is about as high as any turboprop typically wants to go. So it's quite overpowered, really, for its size. It's also got a weather radar, as you can see on that left wing. And it's powered by a PT6, a Pratt & Whitney PT6, which is an engine we know and love, used on many turboprops. We've seen it recently in the Twin Otter and other aircraft. It's de-iced with boots along the leading edge of the wings, so that's a slightly older system, but still useful on aircraft of this size. And something that strikes me about this airplane is it's very well equipped for its size, and it's surprisingly small. The cabin only takes 6 passengers, so it is a unusually small and well equipped aircraft, hence the price is so high for it, really, because obviously you can buy much cheaper general aviation 6-seater airplanes, but this is not really general aviation. This is business, private sort of stuff. So what we're going to do today is take it for a spin, and we'll see just how detailed it is. We're going to take it for a little flight from here. We're in Oxford Kidlington, and we're going to head down to Southend Airport. Just do a bit of navigation, a bit of flying, and we'll start up the systems and get it underway. Just before we do, I am using a preview copy, so there's more to come on this aircraft as Just Flight work Black Square, work their magic on it. So yeah, this is a preview version of the Black Square TBM 850 to take a look at. So I'll give you a bit of a close-up. You get a few liveries. So this is my favourite one, the silver and red. It's a pretty standard sort of business jet livery, but there's a few nice ones, and I do like seeing silver on aircraft. It's quite rare. So yeah, it looks absolutely lovely. It's a relatively clean visual model. You can see a little bit of weathering behind the outlets, but the visual model is not exactly what you're here for, although I think they've done a nice job. It's certainly, to me, having never flown, I've never even been near a TBM 850 in real life, but it does look like a fairly decent representation, and I think they've capture the proportions just spot on. But as you can see, it's very shiny. Now that is not unrealistic for this sort of aircraft. They don't typically do many hours, depending on how they're used. They're not airliners, so they should be pretty clean, and you can imagine anyone who has one of these will be paying for some nice storage for it to be looked after and kept in a hangar. So a clean airplane is a reasonable setup for one like this. It's something you'd expect, but very clean wings, perhaps a little bit too shiny. You can zoom in and see it though, perhaps, so it could just be the way Microsoft Flight Simulator represents it. But like I say, nice proportions, all the important bits are there, and it has all the systems that we're coming to expect to see. You've got the antennas, like I say, you've got the exhaust, they've got the intake under that nice 4-bladed propeller, and the landing gear's well represented as well down here. So yeah, really, this is a preview for you guys to get a sense of what this product's about, and I can just show you. Thank you to Just Flight for sending this over, so I can give you guys a bit of a look at it before it comes out, or maybe before you buy it if it's already out. Some nice decals as well. They've got some labelling. Moving around to the tail. Smart-looking airplane. It's definitely grown on me the more I see it, and of course from Steve-O's videos, it's a really nice looking machine. I think it looks really nice in the air, especially. Strange, not all airplanes are like that. Some of them look great all the time. This airplane, I think, really comes on its own for some reason when it's in the air. Maybe it's the way it sits on the ground, I don't know. To be clear, this is a detailed simulation of this aircraft, so the visual model is good, but what we're here for is going to be inside the flight deck, so let's go have a look in there. So here we are on the flight deck, and as you can see, the first thing you should notice is that this is running the older style system. So the Garmin G1000 is common on TBMs. I think it was standard fit from the late 2000s. So this is a slightly more retro setup, which is what we like. This is what we like to see. This is where Black Square excel at bringing these sort of older style instrumentation systems to these aircraft, and this is their own aircraft that you'd expect to see it, and here it is. You have got the full cabin, nicely textured seats. I think they did a really nice job on the interior actually. It's a really nice looking machine. I wonder if we can open the door. That would be a good thing to do, wouldn't it? I'm sure you can. Quite how? There we go. You have to unlock it, and that that there gives you an example of how this aircraft is made. You've got to do it properly. There you go. Excellent. It's a simulation of this machine. Yeah, very good. So let's close that up. If I can do that. There we go. Press to unlock. Makes sense. Good. So we'll jump back into our seat and let's get it started up. What I have to do here is show you that the checklist does indeed work. Thank goodness, because I'm going to rely on this. Pre-flight checklist has 45 items. A lot of things are just normal inspections, but crash lever is the first one, and that has to be up. I've never heard of a crash lever before. First time I've seen it, but look at this. It does highlight if you select it, which is good news, and it needs to be up. So let's move that into the up position. Now, I'm assuming it's called a crash lever because if you're going to crash, you would, just before you crash, you'd lower that to turn off the power to help avoid electrical fire. But I've never heard of it called that, which is great. Source selector needs to go to off, so that is in the off position. Generator selector can go to main, so we'll put that to the main position. Starter off, and look at this, it all works. Starter off, ignition auto or off. We'll leave it in. Let's put it in auto. Anything that says auto, I'm going to put into auto if I can. Exterior lights should all be off, which are over here, and they are. Gyro instruments all off. Well, there's loads of them, but they are up here, so that's, I think, in the off position. Down seems to be off in this airplane. It's different between Airbus and Boeing, and you can't take it for granted which way is off. Emergency lights test. Well, there you go. The little light does come on. Let's turn it off again. Don't want to waste the battery. Circuit breakers all in. We're going to say they are. De-icing switches all off. Those are hidden down here in the off position. Look at this. This is really, really great. I'm loving this. When you can just use this naturally and click through, it's one of the best systems, and it's nothing more frustrating than when it doesn't work at all, or when it half works and some of the things are down, some aren't, and you're desperately looking. Yeah, this is a system I absolutely love having this. So autopilot trim master off. Let's find that. There it is, off. And this is a great way to learn the airplane. Radio master off, even if you can see it pretty obviously. Bleed air, there we go. That is in the off position. Air conditioning off. Where's the air conditioning? There it is, off. Dump switch guarded. That's this, dump the pressurization. Ram air handle pushed in. Pushed in, and look at that. Everything works. It's really, really good to see this. Aux boost pump off. Yeah, tank selector left or right. Let's put it to the left tank, which it is. ELT armed, that's the emergency locator. So that is in the middle armed position. Parking brake set. That's on. Manual override lever. Oh, what's that? Off. Now, is that off? Or is that off? I'm going to guess it's in the off position already. Power lever flight idle. Does it still move? Yeah, it does. So let's flight idle. Propeller lever max RPM. Condition lever cut off. Flaps control up. They are up. Battery bus power. Check supply. Now I assume I should look somewhere else to see if that's worked. There'll be a little electrical panel, I imagine, somewhere here. Oh, it's beaten me already. No surprise, really. It wasn't going to take much. Well, I'm going to say that we have checked the supply. Source selector, BAT or GPU. We're going to start on battery. So here comes the power. Voltmeter above 25 volts, just about above 25 volts. Exterior lights panel light test. So I'm guessing, there we go. Fuel gauges check quantity. Have we got enough fuel for the flight? I'm going to say yes. Advisory panel, check 1 and 2. So you can test the advisory warning panel, caution warning panel, advisory panel. Very common feature on aircraft of this sort of category. Oxygen annunciator extinguished. So do we have oxygen? Yes, we do. Interior lights as required. So let's get some lighting on, because it's a bit gloomy today, even though it's quite a nice day once we get up a little bit above the clouds. Environment panel light tests. Looking for an environmental control system fault light. Flaps down. Let's put them down. Quite common on general aviation. You run the flaps out at this stage and then you'll bring them back up later. Landing gear panel light tests. Let's do that. Very important. You want to know that all the bulbs are working, so that you don't want to have to sit there just because the bulb's broken wondering whether your gear is down. So very good to have 2 light systems on that. Pitot heat number 1 on. Pitot heat 1 annunciator, which is up here, should be extinguished, but Pitot 2 is still on. So that's showing us that we've got one of the Pitot heats working. Pitot install heat 2 on. And now I'm going to guess we want to see Pitot 2 install lights extinguished, which we are. Now we can turn the Pitot heats off. So that means that those systems are working and we've now checked them. These are big systems that you want to check now, because if they don't work, you're not going, most likely, unless you can guarantee you won't hit any icing. And that's not very easy to do. De-icing panel light tests. There they are. All the lights work. Source selector off. This is great. That's still off. And that is the pre-flight complete. So let's get that engine up and running, or we're going to run out of battery. Pre-flight inspection is completed. Nose baggage door closed. Engine compartment closed. Cabin access door latched. Pilot door latched. Parking brake is set. Seatbelts fastened. Oxygen pressure check. Just out of interest, where is that? Aha! We found one it doesn't have. I've been impressed with how many it's had. Oh no, there it is. It does have it. We're already looking at it. Ah, very good. Yeah, it did even highlight that needle. Excellent. Big thumbs up. Oxygen supply on. Passenger oxygen off. Microphone selector normal. Microphone selector normal. I'm going to guess that's it. Starter off. Starter off. Good. Ignite. Oh, there's loads here. How many items are this? 27. Well, less than we just done. I would say I wouldn't normally show you all this, but I'm just so impressed with how well it's working, so I'm just going to keep going with it. Ignition auto or off. We've left that in auto, as previously discussed. Landing gear control down. Radio master on if clearance required. We'll say no. Source selector, BAT or GPU. We've done that already. Horn test hold. Where's the horn tests? Well, that's a horrible noise. I'm assuming that's the gear horn. Door annunciator lights extinguished. Look at that. Even the annunciator panel is correctly shown. It's correctly highlighted when you use the checklist. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Fuel gauge, yeah, we've checked. We have loads. Auto fuel selector. What? Let's put it as auto. Thank you. Auto select annunciator extinguished, which is the auto cell. Good. Auto fuel selector shift. What does that mean? Don't know. Engine instruments check. So we have oil. It's sitting at 20 degrees ambient temperature with no pressure. ITT, NG, propeller RPM, and the torque. These are the main instruments for flying a turboprop. We'll talk about those once the engine's running. ITT test hold. That's the hottest part of the engine, or I don't know if it's the hottest, but it's the one we're going to measure the temperature from, one of the turbines. So there we go. Test works. Right, and that's illuminated, which should be up here. No. Where's that? Or could be the first one. The needle's function. Oh, I see. No, it's part of the test. The needle's functioning. Exterior lights as required. So let's get the. Look at that. It even highlighted the two we want. Nav lights and strobe light. Now, is that just the beacon or is that actual flashing strobes? That's flashing strobes. I might leave the strobe lights off for now. I'm not sure what they would do, or what Steve would do, but there we go. Starting the engine using the battery. That's us today. Manual override lever. Let's have that off. I think that's off. We don't know. We'll find out. Power lever, flight idle. I think that's reverse. So yeah, flight idle. I'm hoping is there. It does say taxi, so there's a question as to whether it's in the taxi position or not. Let's put it there. Propeller lever, max RPM, we've done that. Condition lever, cutoff, we've done. Source selector, bats, we've done again. Yeah, making sure we do everything right. Boost pump on, here we go. Stuff's starting to happen. Boost pump on. Aux boost pump on. Annunciator illuminated, it is. Fuel pressure, annunciator extinguished, it is. Fuel pressure green. Fuel PSI green. Ignition auto, it is in auto. Starter on, here we go. Let's get it going. Starter annunciator should be flashing, which it is. Ignition annunciator illuminated. Gas generator 13% or maximum. Oh, NG, there we go. There's 13%. Condition lever to low idle. Fantastic sounds. I hope you can hear that. Really very good. Low idle. ITT below 870 in 20 seconds and 1090 max. ITT, I assume it didn't go below 1090 and it's below 870 already. Starter off at 50% NG. We've reached 50. Starter still flashing. It's not quite at 50. Gonna give it a little more throttle. Well, is it off or is it just flashing? Or maybe we turn it off. Yeah, that's our job. It's not automatic. I don't know. Anyway, it's off. The flashing stopped. We'll take it. Oil pressure annunciator light has extinguished. A common check on a lot of airplanes actually. Condition lever high idle. So that was low. So let's put it to high. Up CNG a little bit. Engine instruments check. So we've got torque up here. This is how we measure the thrust being output by the engine. Beneath that we have the propeller RPM, which we can control. It is an adjustable RPM. Down here we have the NG, which is a percentage of the spinning inside the engine. And then we have the ITT, which is the temperature inside the engine. Down here we have the engine temperature, or the oil temperature, sorry, and the oil pressure over here. Aux boost pump to auto. We love it. Auto. Drop the fuel pressure, but it's still working. Aux BP on annunciator has now gone out. And the fuel pressure annunciator is still extinguished, so it's still got good pressure. Main generator annunciator is extinguished. Voltmeter should be 28 volts. So up onto the overhead then, please. And we got, in the green, 28 volts. Ammeter charging. It is just on the charging side. I always find these very hard to read. They only just slightly move over. And that's it. Engine started. We're not doing the GPU. We're doing the after start. So gyro instruments can all go on. That was on the overhead panel. Gyro suction should be green. That's down here in a sort of traditional place. Look at that. You've got the standby attitude indicator aligning on its own. Excellent. Gyro slaving to slave. That's in slave. Prop de-ice on. Check green. Yep. And then we can turn it off. Left windshield heat on. Check green. Yep. I imagine we'll turn that off. We'll do it right as well. Green. And then we'll turn them off. Airframe de-ice on. So as we said earlier, the wings and tail are a boot system, so ice will build up and then bleed air from the engine is pumped into these rubber boots, which breaks up the ice. Now I haven't yet seen a visual representation of this in this aircraft, so I will keep an eye out for it. I hope it does arrive at some point, because it's quite an effect when they do that, but there we go. So now they've cycled between both, so we know that that's running, so I'm going to turn that off. Inertial separator on. Ammeter should be below 50 amps. It is 50 amps. Admittedly, that is a quite impressive current. And generator selector to standby. Voltmeter 28 volts. It is still. Ammeter 0 charging. It is still. Generator selected to main. So we're checking that we have an alternative source of power. And now we can bring those flaps up. Bleed air to auto. Bleed air auto. Fan flow as required. Let's have it on. Let's have fan only. It's not that hot in the UK. We're only in Oxford. Air conditioning. Oh, just say turn it on. There we go. Fan flow should have gone to auto. There we go. Air conditioning on. Cabin temperature set. How nice is this? Setting the cabin temperature. Lovely. Let's do just over 20. Airflow distributor as required. Yep, that's fine. Cabin altitude, field elevation minus 500 feet. So we are basically at sea level, so we just put it slightly below. Cabin climb rate should show an arrow up. Not entirely sure what it means with the arrow up. So I've put this little arrow up. I don't know what that means. Weather radar off standby. So let's put it on to standby. Radio master can come on. The reason it says that is you do not want to turn on the weather radar and radiate this poor ground staff in front of us waiting for us to carry on with our day and let them carry on with theirs. So just get rid of those yokes. Radio master on. We've done. EFIS master on. That's up here. On. That gives us our nice old school instruments. Love it. Autopilot trim master, that's down here. On. EFIS AR source left, so we want to use the left side of the airplane for our source for instruments, QNH, that sort of thing. Electric trim, test and set. So you'd make sure that your trim is running. You can see that we have our wheel down here. You'd also have the electronic switches on the yoke, and you can see that the trimmer runs correctly on here. So I'm going to move it into the green band, I'm guessing, for takeoff. That's normally how it works. Taxi light on. Inertial separator annunciator illuminated. Inertial sep it is. And then we can do parking brake release and toe brakes check. So here I'm using the freeware PMS Garmin system for this flight today. If we look at our flight plan, it has loaded it in automatically. We're going from Killington to Bovingdon to Lambourne to Southend. Bovingdon has a frequency of 11375. Now this isn't quite how you do it, but I'm going to tune it in now. I wonder if I can do that. That would be handy, wouldn't it? Whoops. Press too many things. Let's go back. So how do I tune that? Let's go. No. 11375. Transfer. There it is. Good. Then I can set up my course bar now. It might not know where Bovingdon is initially, but I can go on here and see that it's going to be about 102. So if I set a course of 102 on VOR1, you can also have it on VOR2, or we can use the GPS, which would be the simplest way, won't it? All these different systems. So anyway, VOR1. But like I say, this is just using the default, this freeware PMS Garmin. Now I'm going to move the heading bug round to roughly that direction. I'm going to set the QNH, which is going to be 1013 today. I'm going to get rid of these master warnings because you wouldn't sit with those. So parking brake, inertial separator. So the inertial separator is used to just remove things from the air or intake that could damage the engine if they were to be ingested. So that's what's running. And stall heater and pitos will do as we line up onto the runway. We're going to head there at, well, let's climb up pretty high. Let's go 12,000. This airplane can go much higher than that very easily. Over here we've got minimas, which will do for the arrival. You can actually, even just to show again the systems on this, press this and we can display the same information on both. So if one screen breaks, you can move your artificial horizon to the second as a backup. You know, just every button seems to work. It's really impressive. This is engine monitoring. We'll talk about that later on. Let's get ourselves out and into the air. So I'm going to set the flaps to take... Well, actually, are we going to do it next? We do it in the next checklist, I suppose. So let's go. I'm going to release that parking brake. And... has that worked? Yeah, it has. A little bit of power. And we'll take ourselves... I think we're going to have to do a right turn here, aren't we? Should be room to do that. Now, the turboprops on the ground do actually idle without residual thrust because they have the way the propeller's set up. You can have that working a little bit neater than it does on a jet where they'll have power. That's gone a little bit wrong already. Oh, no, we've not helped. Not getting much of a turning circle out of it. Oh, dear. Well, that's not how you would start taxiing, but that's how we've ended up. Let's see if I can slow it down. Right, there we go. So you've got to have it nice and slow. Use the toe brakes on the side you want. And it will turn. Let's see if we can get some tighter turns out as we taxi out. Nice visual model, looking really good. Anyway, we've checked our brakes during our excitement there. Then we'll head left here. So yeah, if you've got any speed on it, it doesn't want to do it, but if you get it under control, it's quite responsive. There we go, no trouble. Very sensitive to the brakes. So we'll get out to the runway and we'll do our checks just before entering the runway, where we'll run through the flight controls and so on, and then we'll go. Right, before takeoff checklist time, so parking brake is now set, parking brake annunciator is illuminated, terrain tests, push. Very clever to have this. Now this airplane, you hear these don't sink warnings, and yeah, it's fitted with a radio altimeter as well, which is very impressive. Terrain warning lights test, power lever 1900 RPM. So what's happening here is the engine can't actually get the propeller up to the speed it's set to. We've set maximum RPM, but it's quite slow. When we have enough power through the engine, it can then adjust that RPM. We can take control of it, but for now we just have to add power. So I'm just going to move the power lever forward. Now that's 2000, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So we get to 1900, which is a lot of RPMs. We've gone way too far. You can see it hits 2000 and then it's just moderating itself because that's the maximum RPM. So set it to 1900. Oh. Exercise propeller to feather. Okay. So what we're doing is we're just slowing that propeller down. We're forcing it to change angle to check that that system's working. Prop governor, hold to tests. This is a system designed to check that the propeller will slow itself down in case of a runaway. What you don't want it to do is just accelerate and accelerate and accelerate. Prop RPM 1800 RPM. Prop governor release. Oh, I see. Okay, which it did. It did about 100 RPM drop, so we did it. Now we'll go back to 1900s. So that wasn't for me to do there. And then we'll go power lever flight idle. Fuel imbalance less than 15 gallons. So 50, 60, it's about 10 gallons. That's good. Auto fuel selector to auto. It is, which I did notice it just swapped over, which is quite clever. Aux boost pump to auto. It is in auto. Auto fuel selector shift to fullest. I see. So with that button, you can get it to change. So the left tank is the most full, so we're going to force it to start with the left tank. Flaps as required. We'll take takeoff flaps, please. Thank you very much. pitot heat can now come on, and I'm going to do both. De-icing systems not required. Inertial separator not required. Advisory panel should now all be off except for parking brake. Engine instruments check. Torque's fine. RPM sitting in the idle area for the ground. NG's fine. ITT's fine. Oil, temperature, pressure looking good. Flight controls free and correct. So let's make sure they all work. Pretty straightforward flight control system on this airplane, i.e. they are just your standard flight controls with trim tabs. Oh, it does have little roll spoilers. There you go. Which helps with adverse yaw. Ammeter below 50 amps. Yep. Charging lightly. Parking brake release. Parking brake annunciator should be extinguished. So let's do that. It is. Strobe lights on. There we go. Strobe on. And that's done. Next is the takeoff, where we're going to check the HSI attitude, and we're just going to take the airplane flying basically. Bring up the flaps and set the climb power. Excellent. Okay, onto the runway. Let's also take the landing lights. And I'm going to put the pulse lights on, why not? Look at that. And you can even see it pulsing between the two. We'll use the autopilot once we're on the way. It's a little bit sporty to enter a runway. Check it's clear on approach. And there we go. Pulse lights are good for visibility, so we don't need those landing lights for the takeoff, so they're just going to help us get seen, I would hope. So takeoff power, we're going to go with 100% on the torque and 2000 RPM. So RPM's at maximum. Let's go. Power coming up. Brakes released. Away we go. Now it is possible to over-torque turboprop engines, so we do need to set the right amount. Let's build speed, build up. And we'll rotate into the air. A lot of yaw from that propeller, single engine turboprop, you would expect that. Positive climb. Gear coming up. Speed is running away. We don't want to let that flap get damaged. We don't want to go outside the white arc. And here you go. This is a powerful airplane. Very powerful. Rudder trim in. Put the nose up trim. Climb 2,000 feet. Yeah, the trim was a little bit out. There we go. And we'll bring in the flaps. Lower the nose. Flaps up. And we'll turn on course. It's all clear over there. Got a message there from the GPS, no problem. Climbing up to 12,000 feet. Clear that message. Let's see what the checklist wants us to do. So we'll say we've done. Yeah, turn on sparking brake. Good. Landing gear, flaps retract. Flaps confirmed up, 850 mode. Wow, there's another position. I don't know what that means. But you can see it is simulated. Does that bring the flaps up even more? What's the difference? We'll have to have a play with that. So I'm turning around now to inset the VOR course. Power lever, we can go to 121% torque, because now we're underway. This engine can go up in torque. It's allowed 700 horsepower for takeoff, but it is allowed eventually 850, part of the 850 advantages, the TBM 850 name, as opposed to the 700. Autopilot engaged, with pleasure. I'm going to put the yaw damper on as well. Heading bug is not quite in the right position. So I'm going to engage it into heading select. There it is. Hopefully it turns left. That's good. And I'm going to arm the nav. And hopefully it will fly onto that VOR course and take us towards our Bovingdon VOR. So, climbing up to 12,000 feet. Taxi lights now. We're going to take that off. We'll leave the strobe lights on while I think we'll leave it off the whole flight. Climb now, power lever, observe limits, cabin altitude, cruise altitude plus 1,000. So we can set this to 14. That's all we're going to get to really. So you can see differential pressure at ever so slight climb, because we're not going high enough for the cabin to really worry. So it's going to keep yourself nice and low. Good. This is all done. Transit altitude. Look at this. These checklists are just fantastic. Really impressed. So next stunts will be in the cruise. We're routing towards Bovingdon. I'm hoping the airplane will make a left turn shortly once it intercepts that. We're 24.6 nautical miles away from that VOR. I have a video on tracking VORs if you need some help understanding what I'm doing here. Now the pitch is a bit of a problem. I don't think we should be quite this nose up. So I'm going to lower the nose, trim it nose down. Definitely lower this nose up. I'm not actually sure what the trimmer is targeting, so what I'm going to do is press for... do we have a vertical speed option? I'm not sure we do. Oh, there you go. Yes, engage. And the altitude is on. So down, 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 down. Get it to a sensible pitch attitude. And we're going to climb right. We can turn on the flight radar. There you go. That's help. And there we go. It's intercepted the VOR. So autopilot, very useful on this, and well equipped actually. This is a well equipped aircraft for its size. You can use this for some seriously long journeys. It has a range, the aircraft, of around about 1,500 nautical miles. So that is quite a long way in an airplane like this, but it is very fast. Priorities when they built this was speed, reliability. So that's what it can deliver. This is going to get you up above the worst of the weather, not quite out of all of it. Turboprops don't get the very highest clouds, but yeah, pretty good effort, and they are quick. Not as quick as a jet, but not far off, especially on shorter flights. I mean, if you're flying a route like this, it will make almost no difference at the time. So you can see there, we're actually slightly off our navigational track. If I get rid of if I get the map screen up. There we go, we're sitting slightly left of the GPS track because we're tracking straight to the VOR here, and I can prove that by going to GPS, and there you go. Sorry, we're sitting slightly right of the track, which I now can see. So I'm going to leave it on the VOR anyway. I like checking that this system works. Lots and lots of things simulated here. So the gyroscopes are running, and you can engage a failure of the gyroscope. The weather radar does work. If we put it on, we should start to see some weather radar. If we set it to nav, we can actually get in and start doing failures of the aircraft, which if you do a gyroscopic failure, the gyroscope will start off okay, and it will only start to display its failure after it's slowed down. Things like that. Very, very impressive. So let's have WSA, nothing much painting, on, angle down 1 degree, let's say, and there we go. Sped up a little bit now, whizzing along, 240 knots, very good. And that's us level at 12,000 feet. Cabin is pressurized, yep, good lift pressure, excellent. So now we can start bringing the cruise power in. Now I'm not sure what RPM they would use. The tables I've got from the manual, and there is a very detailed manual provided with lots of different things, but yeah, I have not quite worked out correctly what our cruise power RPM should be. It seems to be 2,000 RPM for pretty much everything, which is very simple. So I can leave that alone and just bring the power back to a suitable speed. Looks like typical cruise power at 2,000 RPM. You can do anything up to 121%. So I think I'll just leave it where it is. Let's keep rocketing along. The whole point of this airplane is to be quick, so let's do it. Right, we're approaching Bombington. Next is Lambourne 1156, so let's put in 1156. I'll put it into heading select, transfer that, wait for it to tune. You can see the needle points to it just in front of us. I'm just going to move the heading rug, just intercept that, and engage nav. Making very good progress here. 272 knots now, fantastic. This is a quick machine, as you can probably tell. There we go, route to Lambourne, and then EGMC. So I'm going to try and get it to fly in ILS at the other end, so let's bring up the chart for EGMC, south end. Yep, you can load that route, thank you. South end. Approach, and we'll do the ILS onto 05. We can give it a go at flying the full thing. This is an NDB ILS, the NDB tracking, but we'll just fly straight in and fly the ILS 111.35. There's the first officer come to help out. Hello. She's helping us decipher the chart. We can actually route in from Biggin Hill, which is quite a long arrival, but yeah, that could be an interesting route. So you'd go south and up from Biggin Hill, which will line you up for 02. I actually think that's a good idea. So let's do that today. So 1151. Thank you for the help. In. That's going to retune. Let's put back to heading select. It's going to be right turn. So we're now going to arrive like this, intercept the 063 out from Biggin Hill. So I'm going to put the course onto 063. Good, and I'm going to put the heading mode right because we're flying in heading mode. And we're going to go and intercept that radial by tuning Biggin Hill in. And now I can point at the yellow needle, which is pointing straight to Biggin Hill. And then we will intercept that course outbound. So we'll be on this radial here, the 063, and then we'll intercept the ILS from there. So on standby, let's put 11135. Enter, and that's ready to go. And the course only changes by 10 degrees, so we'll fly outbound. And once we get to 14 miles from Biggin, that's the initial fix, and then we'll swap over and intercept the ILS. Lovely. So handling of the aeroplane, let's give it a go. We'll ignore that GPS message for now. We're on the way to intercept, so I'll head this way and then we'll make our left turn. So we're going to fly down like this and then we'll intercept the ILS. So disconnect the autopilot. You can see there that the rudder is out of balance now because I got too much right rudder in. I had to put right rudder in on takeoff to counteract the yaw. But now it's too much, which you can see from our slip indicator. I'm not entirely sure what this is showing us underneath. It seems to be working in the opposite sense to a slip indicator. But yeah, if you use your rudder trim to get it back in trim, fly straight as an arrow. But as with the turboprop, any power change, and you'd expect to have to change that. So if I idle, I'm expecting it to yaw to the left even more. So there's the power off, and there it goes. And then power on, if we go full power, I'm not doing anything with the yaw or the roll, I'm just using the elevator. As the power comes on, I expect it to gently level out, maybe even start going right. Once you start to turn, it might not happen because, of course, the secondary effects of the turn. There we go. So it's interesting to see these subtleties in the model. Less obvious up in the cruise, perhaps, but yeah, certainly on the takeoff, I can definitely feel that rudder being required. Right, we're going to master warning. I don't actually know why. We've got no warnings up there. Oh, there we go, an exceedance, the torque exceedance. So this little clever system, engine trend monitor, I do not know how to use this, but it is a very important system for this sort of aircraft, and you can use it to record and select different data and all sorts. I unfortunately have not had a chance to understand it yet, so I won't go into it. But yeah, again, another example of the detailed modelling you get with this aeroplane. Very cool to see. This is a really interesting airplane, very versatile. I think people are going to have a lot of fun if you do pick it up with the different sort of routes you can do with it. You can take this into big international airports and it's more than quick enough to hold its own, as well as you can fly it around into smaller general aviation airfields. It's cool. It's an interesting piece of the market to have an airplane in, as always. So I'm going to take it for a stall. Power's back. Let's go right back on the power. Gear horn. Holding the nose. Holding the nose. It goes really slow. That nice high aspect ratio wing. The Black Square manual claims that this airplane is within 2% of the pilot operating handbook performance. So that shows you how much work they've done. 2%, very impressive. So the performance that you get from it should represent the real aircraft within 2%. Still Warner, and there's the wing drop. Look at that, very aggressive. But there we go. So recovering. I need to check we have the airspeed. We have. We've got the nose down. Roll to the nearest horizon, and we'll pull up. That was an aggressive stall, and not too unsurprising for an aircraft of this design. Let's do that again. That was really, really good. So you got the stall Warner, and then it just, as soon as it entered the stall, just dropped the wing. Very cool to see. I love it when you get a bit of nasty tendencies from aircraft in Flight Simulator. It makes you really feel like you are flying an aeroplane and that there is something you need to be focused on. Let's give it another go. All the way back. I'm doing nothing with the rudder. You can see we need a bit of right rudder in theory because the power's right off now. There it is again. Just drops that wing. I'm going to release the controls, roll to the nearest horizon, which why you got those big red arrows on the artificial horizon, and then we can pull up. Nice view of London City down there. Fantastic. That's one of the best feeling stalls and wing drops I've seen for a while. That's very good. Enjoyed that. Right, let's get ourselves back over to Southend where we were, or let's get ourselves onto this ILS. So, what I can do, get the power back on, start bringing it right onto the heading bug. Let's descend to 10,000 feet. Flight of 100 as it would be. Which we're already basically at. So I can engage the autopilots. He says, but no. There we go. I had the disconnect button pressed. 10,000 feet. Speed's good. Power's good. We're on the heading. And hopefully it will capture. No, it's not doing that. It's in out mode. Let's go for vertical speed. Point it down. I'm hoping when we start descending, it will arm 10,000. Almost done 11,000 pretty well. There we go. Vertical speed down and armed. Good. So for this procedure, not particularly fussed about altitudes there, but we need to be down at 2,500 feet for 10 miles out from the ISO, which is the ILS we're going to intercept. So let's put 2,500 feet in. We're not going to descend down below our safe altitude until we're a bit closer, so it won't be an issue. 2,500, excellent. Right, I'm going to start bringing the heading round now to get ready to intercept this radial. We must be getting close. Now we are coming quite fast, so let's get that descent going. Or we'll find ourselves high very quickly, and I'm going to bring the power back, leaving the proper max RPM. We should suddenly, actually no, we'll be down here on this chart, not the scale, but there we go. Right, let's go back to our checklist. Cruise checklist, power lever adjust for performance, fuel quantity, cabin pressurization, de-ice, and as we said. Ignition, descent checklist, altimeter is on QNH already. Cabin altitude, field elevation plus 500. So again, that's sea level plus 500 is there. That's so that it will depressurize in advance of reaching the ground. You don't want to land pressurized on almost any airplane. Pulse lights are on. De-ice system is not required. Inertial not required. Airflow distributor as required. Ignition on. Fuel quantity. So as you can see, as with any airplane, auto fuel selector shift to fullest. So left is the fullest. We're on the left tank. Have I got that right? Yeah. It does feel like the right's draining anyway. Left, right, left is more fuel. Want it feeding from the left tank. Oh well. There we go. Next is the before landing checklists. Oh, we've gone through our... I didn't actually engage the mode properly, so let's turn this way. We are pretty high. I'm going to bring the power right back now so we start slowing down. So heading round. Once it's getting in the right way, I will arm nav, which we can fly to 14.2 on the begin. So we're almost there already. Keep descending, please. There's nav. And I want to bring up the ILS. Once we are getting a bit closer. Keep descending airplane. You're doing a good job. In fact, let's go to IS mode now. Keep 160 knots for now. There it is. Flying the inset. Inbound course 053 for the ILS, so we'll put 053. See if we've got this chart yet. We're somewhere here. Keep it 160 knots. Lights are on. There's VOR2. So what we can do is we can put that onto VOR2. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So let's go into, in fact, let's bring the heading bug around to what we're doing. Let's go heading. Let's change the frequency over. And let's select. Oh, there we go. It did it already for me. Lock 1. And then we have a glide slope as well, showing, and then the runway. So that shows us to be pretty much on the localizer, which is pretty good going, at a distance of 14 nautical miles. We're at 4,000 feet. So we are about on profile, actually. We're ever so slightly below the glide slope. I'm going to press nav. In fact, I'm going to press approach. See if it will engage. There we go. So it should join the localizer. In the meantime, I'm going to select vertical speeds and just shadow out that descent so we can insert that glide slope. Keep 160 knots for a bit longer. So we're below glide slope, so let's do 500 feet per minute. I'm hoping it will turn right in just a moment as it engages the approach mode. Put the heading bug in the right place. Running the checklist then, cabin lights off. We won't use now altimeters check. Decision height, I haven't set one, but like I say, we do have a rad out over here, which is very cool, which will come alive soon. So we could set ourselves, let's put a 250 feet decision height in. I don't know if it will announce that, hopefully it will. Fuel quantity and balance check, balance enough. Still not convinced it's feeding. No, it's on the wrong tank. There we go. Let's go to the left tank, please. Inertial separator under 200 knots. It goes on, or under 200 knots. Inertial separator on. There's a glide slope. Power coming right back. Landing gear under 178 knots down. So there's 170 knots. Gear down. Flaps approach under 178, so we can put them to approach mode. Landing light as required. So let's get the taxi on as well. Autopilot disconnect you can press once. And then we get flaps full after 122, and that is the descent checklist done. Then we land with power at idle and a bit of braking. So all done now, except to put out the last bit of flap. Inertial separator warning, which is fine. And now disconnecting the autopilot. Full flap. Use a bit of nose down trim as we do that. Bit of right rudder as we add the power in. And there we go. It's very sensitive in roll. Very sensitive. Big ailerons, roll spoilers as well. Just trying to get that rudder balanced suitably. A little bit high. Here we go. I'm approaching TBM 850. How cool is this? Nowhere near, of course, as elegantly flown as Steve-O's videos. I've been enjoying the sounds as well. All the different RPMs, the propeller. I think they've done a good job with the sounds of this aeroplane. And hopefully you've seen throughout the video the various systems that are functioning, the cabin pressurization, the failures. We didn't even get into the failures, but they're all in that weather radar system. It's yeah, it's great fun. Lots to learn, but not too challenging is my impression so far. We'll see about the landing, but the aircraft itself it makes sense. It's an aeroplane's aeroplane, if that makes sense. Not really. What I mean by that is, it's as you would expect in lots of ways, especially if you've flown other turboprops. But even if you haven't, this is quite a good one to go for. I think it's quite straightforward in many ways. Now the co-pilot has joined us. She's making a bit of an issue. If I can get to the brakes, can I get to the brakes? Thank you. Just trying to move the cat. So who my co-pilot is that I'm referring to there. So start bringing the power back because I feel like we're coming a bit fast, a bit nose down. 200 feet. Rad out has already gone through. That's probably what that high pitched noise was. Turboprops often come in slightly nose down, so I feel like this is pretty appropriate. Trick will be getting the actual flare right. It's quite fast. Power back. Power back. Power back. Holding the nose. Holding the nose. Come on. There we are. Towards the end of the zone, but this is luckily a very big runway. Get on those toe brakes. Not going to use reverse, we don't need that. Okay, we need a bit more toe brakes. And we'll take this exit. Fantastic. I think you can stop an Airbus quicker than that. But there we go. Welcome to Southend, and I hope you've enjoyed our flight on the Black Square TBM 850. Set that brake. So there we go, that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I was really impressed with this aircraft's level of systems on the interior. The exterior is a nice functional exterior. It's not the most, like I say, detailed in terms of grime and oil and wear, but it certainly looks like the TBM 850 it's supposed to represent. And as I say, the interior and the systems are where it's at with this aircraft. Really, really nice. And it's very nice to hand fly as well. I've really enjoyed flying it around. I think it's quite a versatile option. You can have some good fun on lots of different variety of challenging routes with this, and it has the avionics to back it up, which is really nice, as well as the performance you'd expect of an aircraft of this category. Like I say, this is coming from Black Square, and it's being published by Just Flight in the coming days, so it's probably already available when you watch this, but it may, if it's not, it will be very soon. So that's all from me for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I do hope to see you again in another video or live stream soon. Plenty more to come on the channel. I know there's been a bit of a gap before this video, but thank you for your patience. Sorry about that. More will be explained soon, but looking forward to getting some more videos and streams back out there to you. That's all then. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.